Today's lesson is a combination of Hinduism, Buddhism, science fiction, physics, science, metaphysics, unity truth principles, and good old Bible interpretation. Basically, this is a Charles Fillmore talk for the 21st century. He loved just mashing everything together. Now, just as a caveat, if this lesson is a little too far out for you, that is okay. I'm not here to jam anything down your throats. If this lesson works for you, fine. And if it doesn't work for you, that's fine too. I'm not attached either way. So are you ready? Let's dig in, shall we? Like some of you here, I'm a Star Trek fan, and I grew up with the original Star Trek. Anybody really love the original? Oh, good. Oh, you are my people. In fact, a couple of Christmases ago, Steve and I went to Joshua Tree and rented an RV called the Starship Enterprise, hoping that we would see some unidentified flying objects. But we didn't have the eyes to see them, so supposedly they're out there. Some time ago, I was reading an article on how many of those gadgets from that show actually do exist now. The article that I read enlisted the help from Commander of the International Star Trek Fan Association, Starfleet Dave Blasser, where he points out technologies that have shifted from past future into present reality. The first one, while away on missions, the Star Trek crew often spoke through handheld communicators that looked like walkie-talkies with a flip-top. In other words, much like the older version of the flip-top mobile phone. They also had wristbands that they could talk into, like our Apple wrist phones with FaceTime. Star Trek also had touch-based control panels called PADDs, personal access display devices, that were frequently used by the crew, and they looked a lot like our iPads that we use today. Other things that came about was the Bluetooth headsets, the floppy disk USB drives, voice activation on our mobile phones, GPS, flat screen TVs, and now we have diagnostic beds where they were on sick bay, remember that? The Star Trek creator, Gene Roddenberry, was a visionary man, needless to say. He foresaw the future in which we actually do use the devices that were used in those shows. The one, however, that I would like to see develop just a little bit more is the Beam Me Up Scotty technology. And believe it or not, we are not too far from that being done. Scientists have invented a tractor beam, which is able to move large objects at longer distances than ever before. My understanding is that a tractor beam is made of sound and light. And now just a side note here. Light and sound are the twin aspects of the Holy Spirit, the divine life current that flows in the force of God. And so while physicists have been able to manipulate tiny particles over small distances by using lasers of light and sound for years, this one individual by the name of Andre Rode, he's a researcher in this field, says that his team's technique now can move large objects at a distance of 5 feet. This is actually a pretty big deal. It's called teleportation. Teleportation means to literally move an object of matter from one location into another. Is this really possible? Is it even in the Bible? Well, let's see, shall we? Everybody take out your Bibles now. Just kidding, I know you don't bring Bibles, but just your imaginary one. Jesus was able to walk on water and walk through walls and doors and perform other physical miracles. This one miracle, however, I just found, which I've been reading for years, and never caught this until recently. If you read the following paragraph in your imaginary Bibles that you have with you, it is clear that Jesus transported his boat and all of his disciples 3 to 4 miles instantly. Here it is, John 6:16 through 21. When evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into the boat, and started across the sea to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. The sea became rough because a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 3 to 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and coming near the boat, and they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I, be not afraid." And then they were glad to take him into the boat. And immediately the boat was at the land to which they were going. Could he have teleported the whole boat? Well, I guess we will never know, right? However, we find these kinds of miracles of teleportation throughout the Bible. Here's another familiar story. Philip is teleported about 30 miles after baptizing an Ethiopian. And this is what it says in Acts 8:38 through 40. And he commanded the chariot to stop, and they both went down into the water, Philip and the Ethiopian, and he baptized him. And when they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord carried Philip away, and the Ethiopian saw him no more, and went on his way rejoicing. But Philip found himself instantly at Azotus, another town about 30 miles away. But how does all of this apply to you in your everyday life, right? Well, I want to look at the vibration of intention and how we actually teleport our dreams from one space-time reality to present reality. Intention. The vibration of intention. So you set your sights, you have a dream, an ideal scene, and it's your ideal state. Now, because I'm from California, we're now entering into some woo-woo stuff as if I haven't already. So basically, there's the chakra system in our bodies, and just in case you don't know what a chakra is, this is where Hinduism and Buddhism come in. A chakra is a spiritual power point that is energy in our physical bodies. There are 7 in total. Charles Fillmore found 12 power points. They're called the 12 powers of man or woman in unity. And today we're going to talk about the solar plexus power chakra, since this is the chakra of intention. I find it interesting that in the 12 powers that this is the power of wisdom, and it's the closest to the beam me up Scotty faculty that we have. So I'm going to talk about an exercise, and then towards the end of our lesson today, we are going to actually do it. Therefore, don't worry about doing it right now, as I'm just going to explain some of the steps to you. That being said, have you ever noticed that when you're excited, that you know something, that there's this feeling right at the pit of your stomach, right at your solar plexus? You know that feeling? It is the certainty, the knowingness that this is right for you. Just that you know that you know that you know. It's literally a gut feeling. Now, there are times when you might feel butterflies at the pit of your stomach or anxiety, and that's when fear is your intention. But that's not the kind of intention that we're going to be talking about and working with here today. So the first steps of this exercise is that you'll be taking a moment to think of your intention, your ideal scene, your dream, whatever that might be. And then at some point, I wanted to suggest this to you as a unity community. I would suggest this exercise for the intention of what you want for your future as a community and as your future minister. So You have your intention, maybe the success of a business or a soulmate or having a closer connection to God or selling a house or buying a house or traveling to different parts of the world or maybe perfect health and vitality, whatever it might be. The second step is, it is the idea of a beam of light shooting out of your chakra of intention, the solar plexus, a spotlight that clearly illuminates the image of your ideal scenario. Now, what is important is that you see that version of that scenario like you're looking in a mirror. And then the idea is to see what that version of you is doing in that scenario, how that version of you is behaving, and regardless of whether that scenario exists in the present day reality, you know that that version of you would behave in a higher way no matter what is going on. Now, you have created that image of yourself in that scenario, and you allow that image to literally face you again, like looking in a mirror. It is your future self in a future environment. So now you are paying attention to how you are behaving, and you look at the body language, you observe the attitude, you feel the attitude, and how different it is in your current reality, right? So you have this picture, and you have your ideal scene, and then you allow yourself to actually see a beam of laser light going from your solar plexus to the solar plexus of the future you, right? Are you following along? You see this connection, you feel this connection, you see this connection, you feel it humming with power and purpose. Now you're connected to that vibration, and all the information, this is really important, all the information that you need with that unbreakable cord, all that information is coming to you from that version of yourself, coming along that cord, filling up your solar plexus. And what this is doing, it's rewiring you, it's reprogramming you, it's reinventing you, it's redefining you, filling you up with the necessary data that you need in order to incorporate that version of yourself. This is where you become one with the reflection of that self. So this is the exercise that what happens is that you become the vibrational match of what it is that you are wanting to be. Remember, you can't attract anything in your life unless you're the vibrational match to it. So you're going to love this exercise. We're going to do it as a group at the end of this or at the end of my lesson. So that's the Star Trek beam me up spiritual exercise, if you will. And there's a science part to this. So let's bring in the science. An article by HeartMath, which is an institute of scientists and researchers, I found this, which goes perfectly with this beam me up exercise. And this is what it says. The power, follow along if you can, the power of intentional thoughts and emotions goes beyond theory. In a study, researchers have tested this idea and proven its veracity. The results provide experimental evidence to support the proposition that aspects of the DNA molecule can be altered through intentionality. So as soon as you have an intention, as soon as you start connecting with that ideal scene, you start changing your DNA. The data indicates that when individuals are in a focused intent, a loving state, or in a more coherent mode of physiological functioning, they have the ability to alter the conformation of DNA. HeartMath researchers have gone so far as to show that physical aspects of DNA strands could be influenced by human intention. Individuals are capable of generating high ratios of altering DNA conformation according to their intention. Now, this takes us to something called the future pull. All right, here we go. This is where your intention actually pulls you, or rather guides you, in the direction of your ideal scene. In 1992, there was a book that was written by called Future Pull by Beth Jarman and George Land. And in the book, they examined the phenomenon called the future pull, in which an intention of the future serves as a propelling force to move us forward. So I'd like to just quote from their book, where it says, every single cell in a tree, in a caterpillar, or a human being grows and develops not based on its history, but by being pulled forward by its internal picture of the possible future. That future is inscribed in the DNA, the genes that reside in the nucleus of every cell. That way, every part of the system can pull together toward a common future, especially when an intent has been performed. So this is the Star Trek Beam Me Up exercise, y'all. Have you ever felt like your intention is pulling you forward? Anyone ever felt like that? We all have felt that. Sometimes it feels like you're being pushed forward, right from behind. But it's something bigger than yourself that's pulling you toward where you need to be. But it's actually what is happening where it feels like you might be pulled or pushed. What's actually happening is that you are matching, you're becoming the vibrational match for what it is you have put out there. Everything that you have asked for already exists in higher mind. All you are doing is becoming a vibrational match to it. Now, when you allow yourself to be pulled by your future, it doesn't mean that you are living in the future. Quite the opposite. It means that you are living in the now moment, and each step that you take is orchestrated in the direction of your intention. So you put out your intention, you put out your dream, your ideal scene, and when you connect through your solar plexus, the energy of wisdom, when you let your vision guide you in the direction you need to go, you are then becoming a vibrational match. You see, when you are in alignment, then there is this intelligent system, God, that you are a part of and that you are trusting. And when you are connected to this intelligent system, you no longer need to make things happen. How many times do we feel we have to make something happen? I'm suggesting that in the year 2020, gosh, I almost said 2019, 2020, that you don't make things happen, but now what you're doing is you're a vessel for your good to show up. This is when bursts of serendipitous events happen, when you're in the right place at the right time, being connected to the right people in the right way. Have you ever listened carefully to the words of each episode of Star Trek at the very beginning, right? This is the story of the Starship Enterprise. What that means, enterprise, what that means, if you look up the word enterprise, it means creativity, inventiveness, initiative, boldness, on its mission to new worlds, to seek out new life, and boldly go where no one has ever gone before. To boldly go where your future self and the intelligent system of God is guiding you toward your higher good. So let's just begin this year of 2020 by doing a Beam Me Up Scotty exercise. Are you guys up for that? Good. Some of you are going, oh my God. Where's she going with this? All right, let's just try this, all right? Just think, take a moment, tune in. Ah, yes, there's that presence and power of God that loves each of us so much, so wonderfully, so preciously. So tune into that precious Spirit of God. And think of your ideal intention, whatever that might be. It might be your work, it might be a relationship, money, happiness, health, whatever that is for you right now. It might be having a good relationship with family. Take a moment, just set that intention. Now, what is important is that you see a version of yourself in that scenario, like you're looking in a mirror. And the idea is to see what that version of you is doing in that scenario, how that version of you is behaving. So just take a moment, like you're looking in a mirror. And regardless of whether that scenario exists in your present day reality, you know that that version of you would behave in a higher way no matter what's going on. So just see that version of you. And remember, what they have found with teleportation is that teleportation works with sound and light. So take a moment, see a beam of light, if you will, just shooting from your chakra of intention, the solar plexus. A spotlight that clearly illuminates that image of your ideal scenario. And just allow that image to just literally face you, again, like you're looking in a mirror. This is your future self in the now moment. And so just pay attention. How are you behaving? What's your body language like? Just observe your attitude. And just notice that how all of that is different than your just current reality. No judgment, it just is. And so when you have that ideal scene in that mirror, if you will, when you have your ideal scene, then actually allow yourself to see this beam of laser light going from your solar plexus to the solar plexus of the reflection in that reality. And you feel that unbreakable cord between you. Now you're connected to that vibration. And now all the information you need is coming from that version of you along that cord, filling up your solar plexus. All that information right now is rewiring you, reprogramming you, reinventing you, redefining you, filling you up with all the necessary data that you can then decide to incorporate into your being, to just become that version of you. This is when you become one with that reflection. So just take a moment, allow yourself to feel that exchange of energy, that exchange of information. Allow it to rewire your brain, your neurology, rearrange your DNA, rearrange your molecular structure, rearrange your vibration, so that you start to image that everything in that reality is starting to morph into everything in this reality. You have just become a vibrational match for what you want. And so now just take a moment and rest assured that God will orchestrate the rest. There's nothing for you to do. You don't need to know the hows or the whys. Now all you need to do is just listen to guidance whenever it comes. Next steps, being in the right place at the right time. Serendipitous events. So just be right now in that power and presence of God, knowing God is doing a mighty, mighty work. And for those of you that have faith, that you know that you know that you know that what just happened is an orchestration of divine intelligence. Again, we minister to one another, so just send a blessing to each person, knowing with faith that whatever their scenario, their divine intelligence might be, their divine ideal, that there is an intelligence that is at work. So just send a blessing of faith to each person here. And for this, dear God, we are so very grateful, and so it is. Amen.